Today we are going to be talking about AI and the tools in school that I use, just how it's influenced our daily life.
What are your thoughts in terms of it, the ethical uses of it, and what do you see as the future?
Just knowing about AI, it learns from itself, so you don't actually know how far it's gotten until it's probably too late. I still believe that people, with the rise of AI and technology, things like that, people will value more human interaction. I think that's what's going to happen.
Get ready for the next iteration of you on your path to becoming wealthy. On this show, you'll get the insider's view on wealth creation, the class none of us got taught in school, with my co-host, daughter, and beginning investor, Sophia Bosch. And now, let's get started.
Welcome to the Becoming Wealthy podcast. I'm your host, Sophia Bosch, and I'm here with my mom, my co-host,
Mama Bosch.
And today we are going to be talking about AI and the tools in school that I use, just how it's influenced our daily life.
Yeah, and how you're using it also in your little land biz.
Yeah,
right?
True.
So let's get started. Should I ask you some questions?
Sure.
Okay. So when did you? Well, let's first back up. What tools are you using? What kind of generative AI are you using, either in school or in your land biz? Any names of the things that you're using?
I mainly use ChatGPT.
Okay. And why do you like it, or why why are you using that one specifically versus, like, there's a universe of other apps or
That's true. It depends. Most of the time I just use ChatGPT just because with like you could get a free account, things like that. But like, for example, I'm not using like DeepSeek or something like that because DeepSeek takes info from ChatGPT. ChatGPT is anyways taking info from Google and all these other search engines. So there's going to be few discrepancies in ChatGPT, but if DeepSeek is taking it from ChatGPT, there's going to be even more discrepancies, like
okay.
things like that. So
And you have
or errors.
and you have tested both?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is cool though, I will say. DeepSeek, it can give you like, what's it called? Stream of consciousness.
Okay.
Like, it will map it out. It literally looks like it's thinking like a human.
Okay.
It's wild.
So basically,
weird.
visually, you can see while it's
Yeah,
like
visually,
processing and
yeah.
understanding.
So if you put in a very complex prompt, it'll be like, okay, this is the main argument. Then it'll say what it believes, but then it'll contradict it. Or what most people believe. Then it'll like, oh, but there's also these things. It'll contradict it, but then it'll go back.
It gives you several considerations. Basically.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
It acts as a human, as if you were its conversation.
Okay.
It's very strange.
So, but in spite of that,
I still use ChatGPT just because it's a bit more straightforward, in my opinion.
is it? What do you mean? Do you mean that it's more concise? More basically
you
more
can
to
make
the
it
point?
concise.
Okay.
You can ask it to make it more concise.
Okay, got it. So, when did you start?
More reliable.
When did you start using it? Because you're right now 3/4 of the way through your senior year.
I started tinkering around with it, playing around with it, end of sophomore year.
Okay.
Just with the fun. I know one of my friends has the premium version, and we created pictures, like weird we generated some weird pictures with it,
Okay.
like some fun pictures. But so that's when we started playing with it. But then when I started actually using it as a tool to help me, was the junior year.
And what was the biggest consideration for starting to use it? Like, what was happening during the school year that you felt like you wanted to use it?
I was very, very busy within the first couple of months of junior year. It was hitting me hard junior year. Plus with all the other extracurricular things that I do. sometimes I felt like there were not enough hours in the day, if you know what I mean, to sit down and do, for example, like a history reading, like a full, like, thick history reading. So at first I started using a like AI. So I would put the document, usually it's an online file, put it in, ask, instead of like a 40-page document that I had to read, that knowing me, my reading comprehension is good, but it takes me a while
Okay.
to actually physically read it.
Especially if it's historical stuff that you might not be so excited about.
Yeah. So some of those documents I would put it in just to get a quick summary of it. So once going back into reading it, I actually knew what was going on, and it, instead of me going from the perspective of I have no clue what this is about, let me find out.
Okay.
I already know what this is about, let me learn more.
Okay, get a general idea and then fill in the
gaps
the gaps.
with the examples that they bring, usually in readings, things like historical context.
What have you used it for? Economics, for any other, or just
I've
history?
used it for econ.
Okay.
I did it a couple times because, again, it was not enough time in the day. I basically just had to come to class somewhat knowing what was going on, because what happens with those classes is he has us read something and then we discuss it in class.
Okay.
I was swamped. I had like physics test or something, and I did not have enough time to read it while still prioritizing like sleep, things like that.
Yeah.
So I put it into ChatGPT. It gave me a summary of it. And so I would come to class at least knowing something about what is going on.
Okay.
To engage. And in class, we would, of course, break it apart, understand it more. So that, of course, helped. So when I then that night got back home, I reread it, understood what was happening.
Yeah, so then now you've had three passes at the material. The first general idea from AI, from ChatGPT, then the actual class discussion, and then with that coming back and reading it, and you felt like
Or I come back to read it. I will obviously come back to read it because that material is going to be on the test.
Yeah.
So I make sure to reread that, just because my teacher loves pulling specific things from the actual reading.
Okay.
So he really does want you to read it. So.
Yeah, and which is a good thing, because I mean, we don't want you, especially if in the future, if in the future, you decided to become a pilot, it would be a bad thing, especially lately, for you to graduate from just ChatGPT knowledge when you're gonna have the responsibility of hundreds of souls.
No, the thing is, I was actually just talking to my tutor. She's tutored for years. So now she's seen the effects that college kids have. So specifically the people that want to get into med school after college.
Okay.
She has now seen the people go through college, use ChatGPT and use generative AI for all the tests, all everything. Tests, quizzes, homeworks, everything. And now they have to take the, what's it called? MCAT? No. What's the medical?
GMAT?
GMAT.
I don't know.
I don't know. Whatever you need to get into medical.
Standardized.
And so what you should have learned in those 4 years, they need to cram for it in less than a year. Not even that, probably months. And that test, you don't just need to know the material. You need to know the material inside and out so you can then apply it.
Okay.
So then these kids are cramming, and now they're not passing.
I know
So
what you're saying.
they just spend years in school for that.
So that sounds kind of like she has recognized kind of like a pattern that it's helping them short. It's helping them short term.
term, but they don't see the long-term effects until they get to the long-term point.
Yeah.
And then they're screwed.
Yeah, because I can see how it's a slippery slope where you become basically mentally lazy.
Or almost addicted to using that.
Yeah, I can see that. So what about, so that's, history, economics. It's kind of like textual stuff, but
I use it for studying for physics tests.
okay. How are you using it?
It helps me. Well, for problems, I will do the problem and then take a picture of it, submit it. That one's a little on and off with physics because just different physics teachers do it a different way.
There's a different
They
approach or
still
like
get-
steps to get to the
They
answer.
still get to the same answer, but ChatGPT might tell me something different than my teacher has taught me. Like the way you get there
Okay.
might be different.
So are you using it to check whether your answer is correct?
I'm using it to check my answer because typically it comes out at the same answer. It's just the steps are different.
Okay.
Or they use something that I haven't learned yet.
Okay, what about when
But also conceptual.
Okay.
Conceptual physics. Like if a ball is bouncing down the stairs and it conserves momentum and energy, and it starts off by this height, how tall will the last jump be? Like it's gonna be the same height. Like
Okay.
just like to work my way through
The conceptual understanding of the
it gives me full explanations. If I'm super stuck, then it explains every step. I can ask it follow-up questions. It's great.
Okay. What
I
about
can use that to help teach myself.
in those instances in which you are super stuck, then
It's not for grade either. It's just helping my understanding.
yeah, when you're super stuck and you don't know how to even set up the problem, because in physics the setup of the problem is, I think, is the hardest. Can you then put in just the question or the word problem, and then how do you use it? Do you kind of like then reverse engineer to try to understand basically how?
If I don't even know how to start it,
Yeah.
I'll submit it, look at what they did.
Okay.
Of course, you then see the answer, but then you need to replicate that,
Okay.
of course. But I'm not just going to copy it down. I'm going to learn how to do it because I'm going to need it for the test.
Yeah.
Where you don't have that. So,
yeah. But I can see how it's
like if you do it once to learn it and then for the next problems, then you have that example that ChatGPT did give it to you, but now you know how to do. You can replicate and then you start understanding it.
So it's kind of like
Teach yourself kind of move.
a little bit teach yourself and a tutor that is not
A human.
$60 an hour. Right. So sometimes we do invest in tutors, especially right now as you're preparing for SAT. Have you used it for anything SAT related?
Actually, yeah, I use an SAT specific
Okay.
AI
Okay.
called Acely.
Okay.
That's so helpful. It basically allows me, it tracks everything from how much time I'm spending on each type of problem, like the percentage of accuracy, the amount of questions I've done, where I'm ranging in the type of question. Then once you get to a specific type of question,
Does it give you suggestions on like, okay, you need to be doing, if there's in this portion of the SAT, if it has X number of questions, you need to be doing
or this
1
many
minute
second quicker.
Okay.
Like you need to do this quicker.
Okay.
It also will give me practice problems, endless amount of practice problems of different types of questions. It will just generate new types of problems.
Is it because you're asking it or because you get one?
Well, there's a little button. You can, so for example, for the SAT, I'm really, really bad at it gives you a passage and then there's a little line at the end. What is the most logical completion?
Okay.
To the...
Is this on the reading comprehension part? Like the
reading comprehension. So typically I don't do well on those, so I get the answer wrong. It'll so I click A, B, or C, A, B, C, D, A, B, C, or D, and if that say I click A and that's not the right answer, it'll say this is answer A is incorrect because, and it gives me the explanation, and then it gives you another chance to basically get the right answer. So so you go until you get the right answer practically, and if you don't understand why, I'd asked it before, why do you think I got this wrong? And it gives me the explanation of why in that order I probably picked it.
Okay, makes sense.
And
Now as far
the next one, I got it right.
now as far then what have you noticed? Do you think that
I've gotten so much better.
that was
Because
basically
it's
what I was
just
trying to
problem
get to.
after problem. Typically, without that, with SAT specifically, you need to buy these big books that cost a lot of money and only have so many questions in them. And typically, the questions are reused.
Okay.
You've seen them multiple times before. They're not like fresh questions.
Okay.
Or on Blue Book or like College Board, they have only a certain few of like tests
Okay.
that you can do.
Okay.
So if you just want problem or like
Do you feel though that
there's no skill place to
you
find those.
have improved? I know you
It's
had
great.
I know you had a sitting for SAT where you sat cold for it,
Yeah.
you know, and you scored at a certain level in the reading comprehension and in the math. And what we've noticed is that the composite score, basically both scores add together, that it's your math that is carrying most
Yeah.
of that score.
Yep.
Even though the reading comprehension is not bad, actually.
It's not bad.
You're in the top 95%, in the 95
Yeah.
percentile. But in order to basically look at some of the schools that, that we're considering, you need to improve. And what was now the second time? I know you had a practice test and you just sat for a second official SAT, but before that, a week prior, you had a sitting. By how much did your score improve using AI?
Well, it was with a tutor and AI, so I couldn't tell you how much just with AI.
Okay.
But
so the actual human tutor, what is he doing that AI has not been able to do?
he has been able to patiently sit with me and give me different ways of thinking about it or different strategies. The AI doesn't give you specific strategies to really. It'll say like try reading the question first, but that's like obvious.
Okay.
Instead the human tutor will sit with me. If I don't understand something, he'll be like, think of it this way. That I don't believe the AI can do that.
Okay. Now all of your teachers are aware probably that
They have
all of their students are
AI software installed for any of the things that we submit.
okay, as in like
plagiarism.
papers.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how are they also assigning? Are they assigning papers in such a way that basically the assignment, what they're requesting you to do, it would be impossible to use AI based on what they're asking you to do? Like, for example, in the history.
I don't think there has been an instant where it's impossible.
Yeah. Okay. But they have some way of checking whether basically it is your actual work versus.
Yes, there is a way of checking. Though actually recently it's been found out that those or like the checking if it is AI, those softwares have been very faulty and have been like accusing kids of like using it when they haven't, or like even or skipping over kids that have like used it. It's very touchy.
Okay.
It's not very like it hasn't gotten to the point where it's 100% accurate.
Okay. What are you doing to make sure that in a paper
if
that
it's a paper
that basically that the teacher never has a doubt about the level of integrity that you have basically brought to that particular assignment, to make sure that it's actually your work?
Well,
because you are getting some assistance in terms of like
well,
perhaps analyzing
yeah.
a piece of document, of
I am getting assistance. I will say, I have used it just to get like give me ideas, and then I'll like take some of my own ideas. Oh, this is good. I'll connect it to this. Like, I use it to help me
okay,
formulate a good argument or
Okay.
something.
okay,
But then from there, the rest
kind of like as a starting point.
as a
what you're saying.
starting point.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it specifically if it's an essay,
Okay,
I've just learned over the years how to incorporate my own voice into it.
Okay.
So I believe all my teachers can pinpoint my essay out
Okay.
of
Okay.
a bunch of
And you
different
probably have
essays.
to cite your sources in any case.
Oh,
and-
100%.
Yeah, yeah.
So they can see that
Okay. Okay. No, I was just wondering.
your research.
Now, have you used it for any images
The
for
thing is,
presentations?
ChatGPT can also produce the sources where it got it from. So
Okay.
you could just,
Okay. Yeah.
it's like,
Okay.
but it doesn't produce voice. It sounds very like, I will say ChatGPT has gotten better at that.
Okay.
Before, there used to be a specific way that it just
So what you're saying is that
creates.
it's learning your voice.
No, it's not learning my voice. It's
But I think you can teach it to learn a specific
probably
because I
can.
know for copywriting, on the business side for marketing.
Yeah, 100% you can. But for mine, I haven't done any of that.
Okay.
I've just asked it, like, you can ask it to be more personable or something. But in the future, in the very beginning,
Mhm.
when it was just created, when it was just like coming up, it sounded like a robot. You
Robotic.
could tell.
Yeah.
Now, you can still tell if someone's reading something off in class.
Okay.
Like, saying it as if it's theirs, but they're just reading ChatGPT. You can tell,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not as obvious.
Okay. So now, how are you using it in your land business?
My land business, creating the marketing, like the
The
listing,
description. Yeah.
the description on like Zillow, things like that. We have a little nice prompt that you put in. You tell it how many acres it is, like everything. Even you can ask it what is fun things to do in the area and ask it to incorporate that. So it cuts down so much time in you doing the actual like research, which is ideally you should, just so you know what's around. So when you call someone up, you're not just
Mm-hmm. Not knowing anything.
not
about the
knowing
area.
anything. But if you can get that from ChatGPT and like, of course, check your sources.
Yeah, yeah. Especially because you're going to be talking to buyers to
Mhm.
be, to sell the property. Now, you used that, and perhaps you could share, with everyone. You used it also because in the past you had to find a realtor, and you did it the hard way.
I
the
did it.
manual way.
Oh my God.
And can you like tell us a little bit about the difference, the contrast between how you did it, back then and now that you use ChatGPT to find the realtor? What was the difference?
So in the past, I basically had to go through all the Zillow listings from the area, bought and sold, who was the buyer's agent, who was the seller's agent, and just find out
Mm-hmm.
and just copy and paste the names into an Excel spreadsheet and figure out whose name came up the most.
Okay. Yeah. And basically
Like,
get the
who
top three and
get
then
the
call
top-
them up and interview them.
And interview them, exactly. So the one that came up the most, not great. Second one, great.
Okay, and
But-
that one example. And now how are you using ChatGPT?
Now you can tell ChatGPT to search through the past 1 year of listings of bought and sold.
And which websites are you using?
Zillow, typically, Landwatch,
And Redfin, I think.
I don't really,
Yeah.
but a lot of people do.
Okay.
Um,
Because I heard that Zillow is getting harder,
To
that they've
find
done
out.
that they've done some
Mhm.
things, and therefore the
The
AI
privacy.
bots cannot basically find the information.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
okay.
that's something that I had heard about, but I don't know if you have tested it like in the last I just heard about that like 48 hours ago.
Oh, no, I haven't tested it.
So
But now you can ask it exactly the same thing. Find the buyers, sellers, agents that come up the most often within this time period, and it'll generate the top 3 for you. And then, of course, all you have to do is just personally call them.
now,
Yourself.
Sophia, for just to kind of like wrap it up, what are your thoughts on the future of AI, and what do you think are the considerations from an ethics perspective? Like we spoke about, these kids that are going to college and then moving on to medical school, how easy it is for us to train and, our voice on ChatGPT. Like what are your thoughts in terms of like the ethical uses of it, and what do you see as the future?
I just knowing about AI, it learns from itself, so you don't actually know how far it's gotten until it's probably too late. But with that put aside, honestly, AI, I think
What do you mean by too late? As in like too late, like the robots are taking over?
Sure, let's put it that way. But I think it should be used as a tool. I don't think you should be relying solely on it. I think you should still do your own research.
Or as a complement to kind of like reinforce or really
Yeah.
like have like a 3 pass, kind of like what you use, like the overall general idea,
Yeah.
the class discussion, and then coming back and really filling in the gaps when you go and read, because you've
For
had the
the
assistance
test.
for the test. Yeah. To actually, walk away with something, because that my biggest concern sometimes, as a parent, and I'm sure that, as teachers out there, is like, what are the students actually walking away with as far as knowledge that they embody, that
Who
they
knows?
really internalize,
Because who knows? Because there are kids out there that are just solely relying on it, and they're gonna be screwed when they actually have to produce something.
Yeah, and apply it under in different conditions. Because, for example, during test or even these standardized tests, you're in,
Goes out the window completely. They take your phone, they lock down your browser. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Physically do.
So use it as a tool, as an aid, is what you're saying. Use it for good and not evil.
Yes.
And number 3, just in general, as far as the future of AI,
future, I think I don't think it's
what do you
an
think
overall bad thing.
what do you think my generation should be learning, as compared to you? Because I actually don't use it on a daily basis. I still write every piece of copy myself, and I don't even use it to even generate or get me started on anything. For me, it's like I have divine inspiration, and when I have it, I start writing, and so
Well, see, with a deadline and a time crunch, that's not ideal, because who knows when that divine inspiration is going to come to you. So sometimes you have to somehow get started. Maybe you have a rough idea and you can type it in, and it'll elaborate on that for you, and it'll get you started somewhere. Because my biggest issue, it sounds bad, and it just a little bad, but just getting started can on an assignment, for example, on an essay, I can't sometimes I can't bring myself to get started. So if I can get a little bit of a push to just start,
get the ball rolling. Yeah.
get the ball rolling, then it comes quick and typically very.
Yeah. And you know what? Many writers use go
Everyone has
go on
inspiration.
retreat.
Yeah.
And where
Get
they are
inspiration.
where they're being given prompts to
Exactly.
kind of like trigger that creative process.
Exactly.
So yeah, I get it. I see what you're saying.
It's just this time you don't have to go somewhere to get that. It's on your phone.
Yeah. Okay. Any other uses besides the land business school that you've been, using AI, and would, and as far as like, for example, my generation, what is a message for us that you have?
I use it
as a user now for over a year.
I use it well, other than school or thing, I use it to give me fun captions for Instagram posts. I I use it recipes. Sometimes I use it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
that's
fun.
fun. Or like what should I draw or something? Just like prompts.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Just to get me started. It's kind of like you would do the same in Google search.
Okay.
So I just sometimes, instead of Googling it and having to scroll a bunch, going over here and it just producing it for me quick.
Uh-huh. Yeah, makes complete sense. Yeah, so yeah, I think I want to jump on it, and I'm gonna actually download. Would you think I should download
Oh, I have the app.
Lipstick or both, or
Yeah, do both.
and get started? Because I know we use it a lot in our company and our team uses it. I just personally, in terms of writing stuff,
I like writing my own stuff too.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
But
Well, thank you, Sophia. This was enlightening, for
I
finance.
just have to say, like, for your generation, maybe, I say just understand it the best you can and start using it more, because you never know actually how much
Yeah, I know our team is even using
could
it.
save you
Oh, yeah.
to do other things. You might be spending more time than you should on something
Yeah.
that's not really that important, and therefore you can put that time and energy
Yeah,
into something else.
I know our team has already started using it to help source deals, find deals. And I know that it's in beta testing inside of our investment dominator. Alex is also testing its ability to also make basically phone calls, cold calls,
Oh wow.
basically for lead gen.
I have some friends that have been talking to I've been talking to the AI, like it has a voice now and you could just chat with it.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
scary.
Which for me, I know that it helps you basically go through thousands of leads, quicker,
Quick. Yeah.
and identify the people that are a go, so that then perhaps a human can come in and actually continue nurturing that relationship.
Yeah, because I don't think an AI can nurture that relationship.
At least not yet.
Not yet.
At least not yet.
I still believe that, just part of the ethical side, I still believe that people, with the rise of AI and technology, things like that, people will value more human interaction.
Oh,
I think that's what's gonna happen. But that's just
yeah, I
for
totally agree.
human made things.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Well, thank you for so much for the conversation on AI. I know that last time Papa and I were at a conference, and they were talking about AI, and we're like, man, all these different changes, how to steer our daughter, and as far as career wise, or uses, and integrating AI, and all these technologies. And the response from the gentleman, from the speaker, to my question was like, don't worry about it. She is using it, already, and she's a super user of it, and she's going to be able to manage just fine. If anything, the person that actually needs to, worry about is myself, exactly as me, on how to use it, since you guys are basically growing up with it. Which is interesting. When you were born, the first iPhone came out, and then you were one of those digital, natives that were born and raised with
Let me
with
tell
the
you,
iPhone, and now
I still go like this though. When someone says do the motion of picking up the phone, I still do like this. Children nowadays will go like this.
I know, yeah. But
Just
still,
saying,
but
I
still,
know.
so you were born, and then you were using tools such as an iPad, or well, a cell phone, until you were age 14. But AI has been there now for a few years, and you've only it's become mainstream in the last couple years, and you've only started using it about a year ago. So you're kind of like at the beginning of it as an early adopter, perhaps not the earliest, but definitely earlier than me.
Yeah, a lot of people started using it this year last.
And I think that the speed of which these changes are happening is going to become quicker and quicker and quicker. So follow your advice to me and stay on top of it so you can teach us.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us on another episode of the Becoming Wealthy podcast. And
5-star review.
Yes, absolutely.
Share with an important person in your life.
Thank you. And until the next one.